Governor, you're wrong. You need to apologize to these agents. They're doing their jobs. They are Americans. They serve this country with honor and decency and respect. Do not diminish their work simply because you tried to make a cheap point that you could tweet.
Chair, to recognize Mr. Donalds.
Americans have been told that the immigration crisis is complicated, that the costs are unclear, and that the blame always lies somewhere else. But in a recent congressional hearing, one lawmaker decided to stop accepting vague answers and political deflection. What followed was a direct, uncomfortable exchange that revealed just how little some Democrat governors are willing or able to explain about where billions of taxpayer dollars are really going. This is a moment that cuts through the talking points and puts accountability front and center.
That you could tweet.
Chair, to recognize Mr. Donalds from Florida.
Thank you, Chairman. To piggyback off my colleague, Governor Pritzker, how much does the state of Illinois spend on illegal immigration every year?
Again, illegal immigration, that's a federal responsibility. They could tell how much is wasted as a result of their failures.
Governor, don't you keep track of how many people are on your Medicaid rolls, how many people who are illegal immigrants in the state of Illinois who are getting actually benefits in your state? Doesn't your government keep track of that?
They don't get Medicaid in Illinois or any state as far as I know.
Governor Pritzker, you do not keep track of any public service dollars in the state of Illinois that goes to illegal immigrants or goes to people in your state who are not legal residents of the United States and of the state of Illinois. You don't keep track of that.
We absolutely keep track of our budget, and we're very closely, and in fact, it's been balanced for 7 years in a row, unlike the Republican before me. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I noticed that in the state of Illinois, you guys don't really keep track of your money, because I asked your mayor in Chicago similar question about a month ago, and he didn't have an answer. It was quite interesting. I think this might be an Illinois problem. Governor Hochul, in your state, you are spending about roughly $4 billion on illegal immigration. And at the same time, you are actually asking the federal government for $4 billion to finish Penn Station. Don't you think it would be better to stop funding illegal immigrants in your state and actually use those resources to finish Penn Station as opposed to coming to the federal government for the money?
Penn Station is owned by Amtrak, not by the state, so it's an appropriate use of their dollars, and Donald Trump has agreed to spend upwards of $7 billion. I appreciated that very much. What we spend on immigrants, the immigrants who are here hardworking to live a life and working on our farms and taking care of our parents in nursing homes and taking care of our children, they have been coming here for 400 years. And we don't keep track of individuals based on their status. We make sure that people have services so we don't end up with an unexpected.
So essentially what you're telling me is that you keep no track of money that is going to people who are not legal in the United States, resources that are taken away from New Yorkers, resources that are taken away from Illinoisans. You guys do not keep track of any of this.
You know what's really challenging is that many people came here with legal status. I mean, temporary protective status, 300,000.
Do you
all of a sudden they wake up one day and it's gone.
Do you go along with the strategy from the Biden administration, which massively expanded immigration protocols that overwhelmed your city and overwhelmed your state? Do you agree with that?
We call for secure borders. We call for this body to
I never
do its
remember
job.
you calling for secure borders at all, Governor Hochul.
We certainly have.
That
we
doesn't
certainly
sound
have.
like to my memory.
Many conversations I had with the White House. And we asked for federal resources. I mean, you're putting a federal problem on our laps. And you know what? It gets old after a while. I wish you would just do your job.
If your party actually would do the job of
reform.
securing the nation the way President Trump has now had to do twice, we wouldn't be in this predicament. Wouldn't you agree? Do you agree or disagree that securing the nation's borders is the job of the President of the United States? President Trump has done that job twice now.
Well,
and previous Democrat presidents have not done that job. Wouldn't you agree with that?
this has been a problem that's been in place since I was a young staffer here on Capitol Hill. We worked on immigration, and Ronald Reagan signed amnesty for 3 million people.
You know, it's interesting you bring up Reagan's amnesty in '86. You know, part of that deal was to actually build border wall and secure it. But the Democrat Party refuses to build border wall. You oppose it every single time. Is that your position? Do you now support border walls?
There has been many times when bipartisan legislation is presented to this body and people just walk away from it. They refuse to do the hard work of governing like governors like us have to do every single day. When I leave here, I'm going to go home and govern a state. I'm not going to tweet about this experience because I have too much work to do taking care of New Yorkers. And
you're really not doing a good job, Governor Hochul, because a lot of New Yorkers are actually coming into my state. In Florida, many of them, they come all the time because they actually want to come to a state that is well run, that protects citizens, does not allow illegal aliens to victimize citizens like they are victimized in the state of New York like they are victimized in the state of Illinois, like they are victimized in the state of Minnesota, they choose states like Florida and Texas to find safer places to live and raise their families. Hold on, Governor Hochul. We've had enough
crime
time.
rates are much
Governor
lower
Walz,
than
you've been
yours,
sitting over there
much
pretty
lower.
quiet. I got a question for you.
I love to talk. Thank you, Congressman.
Fair enough. You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away and giving—
Is it the responsibility of ICE to actually deport illegal aliens in the United States who are here? Isn't that their responsibility?
Yes, it is, Congressman, except that the Constitution is not an inconvenience. It's not an either-or.
Nobody
You
said
can
an
do your
inconvenience.
job and
He have a
practice due
responsibility to deport illegal aliens, and the
Through due
president is
process.
going through that process right now.
We are
And
not
let's
just—
be very clear, the previous administration, they abused every process there is under border laws to allow more than 10 million people into the country illegally. And this is a burden on all Americans. And so the president is doing his job. So it is sick to refer to Americans who are ICE agents as Gestapo. Governor, you're wrong. You need to apologize to these agents. They're doing their jobs. They are Americans. They serve this country with honor and decency and respect. Do not diminish their work simply because you tried to make a cheap point that you could tweet. I yield back.
Congressman Byron Donalds walked into this hearing with one goal: answers. And almost immediately, Democrat governors showed they weren't prepared to give them. Donalds began by defending ICE agents, pushing back hard against rhetoric that paints federal law enforcement as villains for enforcing the law. He made it clear that these agents are Americans doing their jobs honorably, not political props to be smeared for cheap headlines. Turning to Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Donalds asked a straightforward question: how much does Illinois spend every year on illegal immigration? Pritzker deflected, claiming immigration is a federal issue. Donalds didn't let it go. He pressed further, asking whether Illinois tracks how many illegal immigrants receive state services or benefits. The answer, effectively, was no clear answer at all. Donalds pointed out that this wasn't the first time Illinois leadership couldn't account for the costs. Even Chicago's mayor had recently failed to provide numbers. To Donalds, that wasn't an accident, it was a pattern. Next, he turned to New York Governor Kathy Hochul, citing estimates that New York spends roughly $4 billion on illegal immigration while simultaneously asking the federal government for billions more to fund major infrastructure projects. Donalds asked a simple question: why not redirect that money to New Yorkers instead of demanding more from taxpayers nationwide? Hochul responded by praising immigrants and insisting the state doesn't track spending based on legal status. That answer only reinforced Donalds' point. If you don't track it, you can't manage it, and the people paying the price are citizens. The conversation widened to border security, where Donalds challenged the idea that Democrat leaders have ever seriously supported secure borders. He argued that repeated failures by prior administrations created a crisis now overwhelming states and cities. Donalds contrasted that with states like Florida and Texas, saying Americans are voting with their feet, leaving Democrat-run states for places they believe are safer, better run, and more focused on citizens. The most heated moment came when Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was confronted over comparing ICE under President Trump to the Gestapo. Donalds called the remark disgusting and demanded accountability, reminding everyone of the historical weight of such language. He closed by making one thing unmistakably clear: enforcing immigration law is not extremism. It is the job of the federal government, and demonizing the men and women who carry it out is wrong. For viewers watching at home, the takeaway was simple. When asked for facts and numbers, Democrat governors offered rhetoric instead.